Do you ever wonder what hell is like in the medieval mind? I think if we go back and look at the 13th century, we can get a great idea about how hell works, what the various levels of hell might be, and also how we find ourselves today in what turns out to be hell in our actual lives. I think it was Milton that said that everywhere I go, if I fly to the earth, if I fly to the sun, if I fly to heaven, I find hell, because hell is within me, that we are the cause of our own hell. And I think there's something true about that. In Canto 1, in the Inferno, Dante writes about this idea of hell being an inverted cone that comes forth through the middle of the universe down through Jerusalem, which of course is where the crux of the great world's religions occurred, specifically through the resurrection and the crucifixion of Christ, that crucifixion point actually becomes the center point or the entry point of hell. It is the introduction of hell itself. And so he says that there's 10 layers, 10 levels of hell that really start with the more innocent of the offenses. Now he says that life is also like this, that every time we want to fight against the evils in our life, that we are pushed back against by one of three beasts. These beasts are animalized within the leopard, which is the leopard of lust, the lion of pride, and the wolf of covetousness. So the leopard of lust, the lion of pride, the wolf of covetousness, that these three work together to defeat us and to propagate the evil, not only in the world, but also the evil in ourselves. And so from the Dantean perspective, the idea of evil is both inward and external to us. It's inward and external. It's the same evil. And so the levels of hell seem to represent, in the Dantean perspective, the decreasing, declining, decaying of the moral framework within mankind. And of course, the more morally, I guess, inured you are, the more morally decrepit you are, the more morally knowledge, yet you rebuff that knowledge you are, the greater your plight, the greater of your treachery and punishment might be. And so the first level, the very top level that comes classically out of Jerusalem, of course, the earth being the center of the universe, Jerusalem being the center of the earth, and hell being an inverted cone that comes out of Jerusalem, is the virtuous heathen. So this is the first level of hell where the virtuous heathen are punished. These are people who wanted to do good, but they just didn't want to go look for ultimate good. They didn't want to look for God himself, so they chose good aspirations to be their gods. The second level is the level of lust, those who put the flesh before all things. And a few of these levels up top are more fleshly types of adherences. Right after lust, you have the third level of hell, which is gluttony. Obviously, the overeating, the overindulgence in food and drink, which attacks us all sooner or later. Then you have this level of the sort of the gauge, the gouge, and then level 5, the level of the wrathful, people that have wrath, have anger issues. These are people that cannot control their tempers, and they let the externality of the world come and invade their very soul, and invade their temperament, and then destroy their lives from the inside out. Level 6 are just the typical heretics, those who cast aside God, cast off God, and do not want to be ruled by him. These are pretty traditional people. Now this is where we find the center point of hell, is between the wrath and the heretics, the wrathful and the heretics. So these are people that cannot control their inward lives, cannot control their inward lives. It's said that there are 2 steps that one must take in order to throw off evil, to cast aside hell. The first one is to identify that you're lost. This is the first step towards salvation, is to identify that you're lost. The second step is this idea of that we must be inwardly obedient to something that's higher than ourselves. This is the second step in order to find salvation. So number 1 is identifying that you're lost, that you're heading in the wrong direction. And number 2 is identifying that I need an inward obedience. And this is where the crux of the middle ground of hell sits in the Dantean perspective, that somewhere between wrathfulness and heathenness is these two elements. Now, after the heathens, there's a three-step terrace that has to do with the violent, the people that are angry, the people that are violent, people that let the wrath then turn into action. All right, they cast aside the external world. They sacrifice their internal world to the external. They're heathens, but then they also take it one step further. They're wrathful. And so there's three steps of the depths of the depravity of wrathfulness. The first one is people that are wrathful towards others, people that are wrathful towards their family, to their friends. The second step of this terrace is those who are wrathful towards themselves, right? They're wrathful for themselves. They're self-destructive. They do not give themselves enough credence. These are the people that talk about wanting to kill themselves, wanting to they hate the way that they look. They hate the way that they feel. These are people that are always sorry, poor me people. These are people that are closer to the very depths of hell, the deepest parts of hell, than those who are more innocent, that are just lustful, that are just prideful, which is different than we would have suspected. And the third step of this terrace are the people that are violent towards not only things like nature and art, but also violent towards God. These are people that hate God, not people that say that I don't know that a God exists, but people that actually hate God. That obviously, if you're going to hate someone, you have to admit that they exist. And it's interesting that Dante puts in the same cluster with the hatred of God also being the hatred of the manifestation of his attributes, which is art and nature. Art and nature. Obviously, nature is merely a reflection of the power of God. Art is generally a reflection of the nature of the power of God. That it is a twice removed attribute of who God is. Nature, obviously, defining not only his power, but also his grandeur, his might, his beauty, and art, a reflection of that. So those that are violent towards those things. And the final two layers have to do with the people that are fraudulent and people that are treacherous. So level 8 and 9, below the center point or the axis of hell, Jerusalem, the site of the crucifixion, the frauds. And there's 10 types of frauds. We won't go into those right now. But the treacherous, these are people that are treacherous, that they will take advantage, they will even murder those who are trying to help them. And this is the worst type of person in hell. And he puts this in 4 different levels. So this is the bottom terrace of hell. Let's put it into 4 different levels. So first one is people that are treacherous towards their family. These are horrid human beings that are treacherous towards their family. They want to cut off their family. They want to take advantage of them. This would be someone like the prodigal son in the first part of the story. Secondly, people that are treacherous towards their country. And of course, all countries know that they should put to death those who are treasonous, those who are treacherous against their own country, because it's not healthy in order for society to live. The third one is very interesting. You put people that are treacherous towards guests. I guess these would be treacherous towards the stranger, people that you're supposed to invite in, that those who take advantage of the guests, those are supposed to be invited in. These are people that are evil towards the innocent. And that takes place in a way that's really saddening, that's truly loathsome. And the final step, the final level, the lowest possible level, are those who are treacherous against lords, treacherous against their presidents, treacherous against those who they have sought to serve. These are slaves that are treacherous toward their masters, or employees that are treacherous towards your boss, that are those who have a reserve sign for them in hell, in the very, very bottom, the very depths, the very darkest, very hottest place of hell in the Dantean perspective. And of course, we have time now while we're living in order to push back against these evils, to prevent ourselves from reaching these depths of hell. And we've got to be able to fight these 3 great beasts, the great beast of pride, of lust, of arrogance that prevent us from fighting against and working our way back up from hell. But of course, there's something else that's at play, is that we have to realize there's also a pathway to salvation. The pathway to salvation, the first two steps, of course, are admitting that we're lost, and secondly, admitting that we need some sort of inward change. That, as Milton says, that hell is with me wherever I go, because it's in me. It's in me. The hell itself is within me. And it's possible that we're not sent to hell, but we go to hell willingly. That hell is the place where we want to go if we so end up there. That, in the words of Lewis, no one that did not want to be in hell is in hell. That hell is locked from the inside. It is escapable, yet no one ever escapes, because they cannot stand up against the presence and the beauty and magnificence of God himself in his revealed glory. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it, because the darkness has chosen not to understand it, because it likes evil more than it likes light. It likes chaos more than it likes order. And only the prideful man is unwilling to see that he must admit that he's wrong, do the about face, turn around, and seek that which is upward and higher and more dignified in his beauty. But of course, you cannot do that unless you admit that you're wrong, which is the first step towards salvation in the Dantean view. So hopefully this has been helpful for you in understanding Dante's Canto 1 in the Inferno, the structure of hell, the structure of reality, and hell descends as we descend, and it happens because we refuse to fight. Thanks, everyone.